just to reiterate, the passing of Jim Carter, hearts and prayers go out to his family. I'm sure that's a difficult time. Puts things in perspective a little bit.
Well, Ryan, I know you guys were waiting to unveil this, and Scott Frost said he was a little surprised at what you threw at him. So that all seemed to work for you guys. I mean, what did you think of your performance?
Yeah, I thought the guys played hard. I thought we executed well for the most part. I thought we fit up the run, like the designed runs well. Obviously, the quarterback got out on some scrambles and some broken plays. We knew he was a dynamic athlete, and as the kids said it after the game, he got some gas. So, they're a good football team. They're going to win a lot of games. As I said, prior to the game, I got a lot of respect for Scott Frost and his play calling creativity.
Devin Witherspoon, I think, had 4 QBUs and had an opportunity to get a couple picks too. Can you kind of recap what you saw from him on Saturday?
I saw from him what I saw during camp and during the week of practice. He studies tape. He anticipated what was coming on the backed up play on the speed out. Thought he had a chance to intercept that ball. He's competitive. He's got a short memory. Obviously, he gave up the long ball and it didn't faze him at all. We got a lot of trust in him and his abilities. He's also a physical player in the run game.
Ryan, you guys looked like you had some man from your corners on the outside. You brought some pressure from various spots. I guess what's your philosophy for being aggressive like that? What would that come from?
I think in offensive game play today, a lot of times if you see the quarterback throw the ball, you're also going to see it caught. So anytime you got the personnel to play some man coverage and make quarterbacks throw in tight windows, I just think it puts a lot of pressure on them to be effective and be efficient with their accuracy. So, the more we can be aggressive and force the issue and force them to make quick decisions while being tight in coverage, I think will be advantageous to us and have success defensively.
What did you like most about Calvin before he went down and got hurt?
Just savvy. Savvy player, plays hard. He can dip in and out of blocks and bend the corner. Obviously was very productive on affecting the quarterback before he went out and was advantageous. When the ball was on the ground, he recognized that he had some space to scoop and score instead of fall on it. That's something that we work on, every week in our turnover circuit. And he's up to get in the end zone, and hate that he got hurt, but he's going to be a really good player for us.
How confident do you feel about your depth behind him with him going?
Very confident. Like I was saying before, we had a lot of guys who take a lot of reps in the springtime. With Jake and Tariq and Tulsa not being out there. So all those guys are back and healthy, and so that's probably the deepest position we have on defense right now.
Coach, what have you seen on film of the UTSA offense that might present some challenges for you?
Well, they're really good at what they do. They operate mostly out of 11 and 12 personnel. You're going to see zone schemes, split zone schemes, and some counter to complement that. They're really skilled on the outside. The 2 split-out receivers are vertical threats in the passing game, and their quarterback does a nice job of putting them in positions to make plays down the field, especially on early downs. The quarterback is a savvy player, a left-handed guy that gets the ball out on time, doesn't turn the ball over a whole lot. He's also efficient in the run game. If they'll make you keep it honest on all the zone read schemes and the power reads with the quarterback. Again, that play caller is gonna make you play with all 11. The gap schemes will be a little bit different for us this week, so we got to have our eyes on the right spot in the run game, and then we got to be playing top down in the pass game as well.
Ryan, were you satisfied with that on Saturday, meaning the run game? If you take Adrian out, where it's designed scrambles, sometimes it seemed like your gaps were pretty filled up in their run
Yeah,
game.
there was the second down on the backed up situation. We got out of gap, but for the most part, we played downhill, we played physical. We didn't miss a whole lot of tackles. That's always something you worried about going into the first game of the year. But again, we had a physical camp, and those guys played that way, all preseason. So, I was happy with the run fits. There was always room for improvement. Obviously, you can't let the Q get out like he did. We had some miscommunication errors on a couple of those plays. So it's all things that we can clean up, and we're self-inflicted. And the old adage is you see a lot of improvement from week 1 to week 2, and I hope that holds true with our unit.
Tony, what's the challenge this week? You've had the element of surprise on your side going into this last game. Now there's some tape out there, so what's the challenge for you play caller and getting those guys to take the next step?
Yeah, I just think the challenge is always going to be the focus be on us and not really what we're seeing week to week. It's just improving the technique, fundamentals, and details. The scheme is what the scheme is going to be in terms of your reads and keys. It's just the consistency with the discipline that you have to do it, play in and play out. And no matter what happens, bouncing back the next play and handling success and failures within the course of a series, within the course of the game. And that was one of the things I was happy with as well, is just handling the adversity and playing the next play.
Right, we heard you talk about being multiple as a defense. Is it fair to think what we saw Saturday could be different from what we see this coming Saturday and how you guys line up?
I mean, we've got the ability to go 4 and 3 down. We weren't as 3 down heavy this past week just because of what we felt like was going to be better suited for us in terms of our strengths. But yeah, that could change week to week just depending on what the game plan.
What do you make of how your linemen and your outside linebackers play with us and some your pressure at times?
Yeah, definitely had good. I think we ended up with 5 sacks. I know we hit the quarterback a lot more than that. And we got good players out there. This is as deep a defensive front as I've been around. We got really athletic guys on the interior that can pose problems and create pressure. And obviously, OC, Isaiah, and Seth Coleman, and Zeke Holmes, those are good players. And so, we got to do a good job as a staff to put them in positions to make plays.
You
We saw
mentioned,
a decent amount of a dime defense, 6 defensive backs out there. Is that something you've always done, or is that specific to the personnel you have?
I think it's something you always try to do, especially when you get in down and distances where they're going to throw the ball. You just want to get your cover guys out there to go cover. And we're fortunate to have some guys that can do that. It just creates tighter windows and it can give you a little bit more multiplicity with how you bring pressure and trying to create one-on-ones for your guys up front that can win one-on-one matchups.
And it looks like you used a lot of safeties in those situations. Again, is that based on who you have, or is that how you run that? You just want to bring multiple safeties?
I mean, we had
Or does it
3
matter?
safeties and 3 corners, so it was pretty even.
Yeah, thanks.
Brian, what'd you like out of Taz on Saturday? It seemed like he had a pretty solid afternoon.
Yeah, he's a savvy player, both on special teams and on defense. He had the first game jitters a couple times, so there's a couple plays he probably wants back that didn't hurt us on the field, but definitely showed up in the film room. But we're happy with where he's at and how he'll progress. And you can't teach experience, so you got to kind of go through that sometimes and go through the fire to learn from and to calm down a little bit.
you mentioned the biggest improvement coming from week 1 to week 2. How important is it for you to continue to build off the positive momentum that you had in week 1?
Yeah, I mean, what's important is to learn from the mistakes and learn from the successes. Like, why did you have success? What were the keys? And then when you didn't have success, what was it? Was it a technique issue? Was it a communication issue? Was it an understanding? Like, was it a conceptual issue? And so that way you can grow from that and apply it to the next time you're in that situation on game day. And so, the first game of the year, you had a whole season where you didn't have fans. You come out here and our student session especially was great. I know it was hot as heck out there. And to have that crowd and that energy the whole game, that you're going to have some jitters. You're going to press a little bit at times. You're going to get your eyes in the wrong spot at times. You're going to try to seek out plays instead of them allowing them to come to you. So those are things that you've got to go through in order to learn from. You can talk about all you want to until you actually experience it. It's hard. You can't simulate that. And so I think that's where you get the biggest jump, is just the being able to relax in the moment and focusing on what you need to focus in on. And that's your preparation, and you lean on your preparation and what you've gone through in practice and what you've been studying on film.
What did Kirby Joseph show maybe in camp or even before that spring, summer to emerge as one of your starting safeties?
He's long, athletic. Obviously, he's physical. He also did a great job on special teams. He had 2 huge plays in the kicking game. He's another guy that will improve from experience, but he's got all the physical tools to be a really good player.
What did you like about Quan in that nickel spot,
He
too?
can cover, man. He covers like a corner, but he's big like a safety. I think we can utilize him in a lot of different things schematically. He's tough. He played a lot of plays, especially that long fourth quarter drive where he played a lot of man coverage, and I know he was gassed after the game, but it didn't show up on tape.
To play that, I mean, you seem to play a lot of man. That takes a lot of trust. I would imagine both your pass rush and your
Yeah.
secondary. What gives you the faith in your secondary and pass rush?
Just what I had seen on tape, you know, throughout the course of the spring ball and fall camp, and also what we were getting from Nebraska. You know, that also kind of dictates what you call and seeing the flow of the game and what's working and you know what the guys are comfortable with. You know, it's when you're confident in your one-on-one matchup, it's easy to say, okay, I got this guy, let's go play. You know, so anytime you can do that, it's you want to do it.
Couple of long throws over the top of the defense. What'd you see on those two plays?
The one play, like Witherspoon could just kind of got beat at the line of scrimmage. You know, he slid outside and got released inside. You know, we were so heavy, eyes in on the quarterback from the post piece. You know, that he put him in a bad position, but he was able to make up speed, and the guy was forced to make a hard catch. The other one was a design scheme. Like I said, Scott Frost is creative. So we were in man coverage, so we had a false read with the guard pull and then the tailback out fast on the wheel route. So that's one of the plays that you'll see, you know, one time a game and it'll work, and then after you see it, you don't see it anymore. So, but again, those are learning experiences, and hats off to Coach Frost and their roster for making the plays downfield.
You all basically essentially ended the game with a defensive stop, and just confidence-wise, what does that do for a team when you're trying a bunch of new things for the first time to finish the game, go to some adversity, but still get off the field?
Yeah, I mean it's huge. You want those experiences. Like you don't want like a storybook start. You know what I mean? Because you don't really grow from. I always think you grow more from failures and adversity than you do from the successes. And we talked about pre-game. That was going to be the key to winning or losing, is how are you going to handle the adversity when it hits, because it's going to hit. It's just the nature of the game. I thought our guys responded well.
There you go.